welcome everyone to the Rainforest Lunch Without Lunch today. Beautiful Alberta-wide day in many respects, and so glad that we're all nice warmly at home. So a part of the steering committee at Rainforest Edmonton here. Love being part of Rainforest Alberta. Thank you so much, Bridget, for all the amazing work you're doing with community. And happy to give a bit of a brief overview on concepts of the rainforest. So most of you would already know this already, so we'll go through it quickly. Etiquette, good to know, is please use the raise your hand function to speak. We will be reading comments from the chat. Depending how many people are here, we may read from it or give you a chance to ask the question. Please stay muted. So that of course we aren't distracted from the background noises, and then as you know, Zoom can zero in on people who are wrestling versus speaking, so stay muted until it's your turn to speak. Rainforest is an analogy, wonderful book that talks about how rainforests are unlike farms, where factors in farms, things are well understood, things are planted. The rainforest, all the elements came together to create a thriving community, which is what we're trying to do here in Alberta for innovators in the province. So wild, untamed collisions are happening. Our vision is to be a world-class community of dreamers and doers connected by a common goal of making Alberta a fertile ground for building and developing and growing innovative ideas. We have this culture of trust. Our mission is to connect the innovation ecosystem by strengthening the movement behind the tech industry around a framework of shared values, collaboration, community, and trust through storytelling. Hi, everyone. I love everyone saying hi on the chats. Keep it going, guys. We love the communications. So please remember to sign the social contract if you haven't. That'll enable you to be part of the Slack. And the tenets are pretty clear: diversity, free help, trust, paying forward, fairness, listening, honesty, team sport, sharing, and being role models. Thank you so much. 6 pillars. You know what? I'm going to get Bridget to talk more about this, because I know that there's a scorecard reference later on, perhaps, that you may want to plug into. So over to you, Bridget.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Gail. That's not a bad segue. Yeah, so we do have these 6 pillars that hold up the ecosystem, and as you can see here, they are differently weighted. We do a lot of work here in the rainforest around building this culture of trust and transparency and diversity, and also a heavy focus on leaders who lead us in that. Check out our website for definitions of what's a big leader, what's a little leader. And then of course we have all of these other zones around resources, capital, that sort of thing, that make up the ecosystem, and this being an engaged activity. So we ask that you do, as Gail said, continue to take part in the chat, ask questions, and be part of the conversation, especially today, because I think that's where we'll really get value out of the conversation always, but today in particular. And so role models is another one of those, and we have some role models joining us here today, and I'll talk a little bit about what brought this panel together. In true rainforest transparency, the panel, if you registered for Eventbrite, depending at what point in time you registered for today's event, you may have seen different details on the event. We originally had a different panel set up for today, but that fell through and, well, just got shifted till next week. So we decided to carry on a little bit of a conversation we had several weeks ago, where we had a huge audience talking about career pivots into tech. Then from that conversation, and this is one I've been having a lot in the ecosystem, was around students' experience in finding work here in our province, and specifically Edmonton and Calgary. And so we thought, why not, in, again, true rainforest spirit, have a real honest conversation about what the student experience is like. So as Gail mentioned, our scorecard assessment, and Amber, who's our community storyteller, will throw up the link for the scorecard report, which came out at the end of last year. Wasn't too widely distributed, so if you haven't seen it before, do check it out. It's just got some interesting statistics on our pillars and on the diversity, or maybe lack thereof, that exists in our community. We did a lot of work around diversity last year and hope to continue this conversation. But a lack of youth in our community, specifically every Wednesday, it has been lower over the years. And there's been some articles recently in the Calgary Herald, again, that Amber will share, and I really hate to share them widely because they have such negative undertones, but it is maybe an opening to this really honest conversation about what does it look like for students in our province? Are they staying here for work in our sector, maybe others? And or are they going? And I think if you are a parent with older children, you're, a lot of leaders in the sector tell me about their kids at university in other cities and jobs in other cities. And I think, okay, so that's part of the conversation. So is maybe some of the students who are here today, and not just from post-secondary, but also from a lot of these reskilling programs that are really taking flight in Alberta. And so today's panel, we have a group of students from MRU, SAIT, U of C, Evolve U, reskilling program, and SAIT's Adapt reskilling program, to talk about a real honest conversation about what their journey is like. So we want to hear all the highs, and we will no doubt hear certain lows that have taken place in their experience. And so if you are also a student of any of these programs and you're in the audience thinking, oh boy, I have something to share, please feel free to put your hand up, throw it in the chat as we talk. And then for the rest of us in the community who aren't students, this might be an opportunity for us to have some conversation around what we can do to better support our students here in Alberta. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ryan Klopp, who's from U of C's Career Advising Services. And Ryan and I touched base on this topic because I saw him in the rainforest and at a few other ecosystem events, and I thought he's going to have something to say about all of this topic. So I'm going to hand it over to you first, Ryan, and maybe you can share some insights you've experienced.
Thank you, Bridget. I think one thing that I'd describe myself as is a career student. I did my undergrad in U of C doing the Bachelor's of Health Sciences. Then I did my master's, and then I tried to continue on with research. But at some point, I needed to kind of leave that academic area and go to more of a industry-focused event. So I pivoted into industry. I was a slingshot technician, and then the pandemic hit, and I lost my job, or there was no jobs with being a slingshot technician. So I was kind of like, what's next? What do I do now? And I think I went back into the field of academia. I did research on graduate outcomes from the biomedical engineering program that we have at the University of Calgary. And now I'm finding myself as the employer relations specialist at the University of Calgary. So this position has allowed me to have honest conversations with students. And I think one of the great things about our students, and one of the reasons why I think I'm really excited for them to participate in this ecosystem, is that they're resilient. I know people that have had canceled co-ops, they've had their programs extended. I know people that had to redo a lot of their experiments, even applying for jobs. They're applying for thousands of jobs. They're getting rejected, but they're continuing to apply, and they're continuing to be contributing to the community. So I'm incredibly excited and incredibly hopeful for the future. And going back to the idea of brain sharing, I think when I'm talking to students that there's a low career confidence at this point of time, and that's also impacting their mental health. I'm not saying that this brain drain is for all programs at the University of Calgary, but I specifically noticed with the biomedical engineering program that I'm doing research with, a significant portion of our graduates feel that they have to leave Calgary to find opportunities in their career.
It's really interesting, Ryan. Maybe before we continue into the panel, does anybody have any specific questions for Ryan based on what he's just shared, or any comments? Feel free to throw them in the chat if you do, and we'll continue the conversation. I'm sure some things will come up. Thanks, Shannon, for sharing your information in the chat. For those of you students on the panel today, or post students, I have made you co-host just so that you're pinned to the top of the page. I hope I got everyone. I'll try to do that as we speak. But I'd like to just start by having the students that are joining us today share a little bit about the program that they've recently taken in the city, why they chose it, and what expectations they had in choosing the program that they did. And so we'll start with Shannon, maybe if you don't mind telling us a bit about that.
Hi everyone, I'm Shannon Snaden. I recently completed the MBA program at Haskine School of Business, and I chose the MBA because I wanted to pivot out of government work. I was previously working at City of Calgary and wanted to try a different industry, and really enjoyed the MBA program, and it exposed me to the world of entrepreneurship and innovation and the thriving community that we do have for that in Calgary.
Awesome. Thanks, Shannon. We'll head over to Amenze. If you want to tell us the program you took and what expectations you had of that program for your career.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amenze. I just finished the Evolve You Full Stack Developer Program. I like to say that the Evolve You program kind of found me because I wasn't like looking for a specific program. I had been taking my pharmacy exams, and I just wrote one recently and then I didn't pass it. And I was like, okay, I think I'm just going to take a gap year from writing these exams and, you know, try my hand in other things. And tech was something that I was interested in, but I didn't know how to go about it. So I asked a couple of friends around and someone told me about Evolve You, right? So I just applied. I think it was almost last minute actually. And it was actually a sibling that applied and he didn't get in. And I was like, okay, I'll just apply. And I got in and yeah, the rest is history.
Meant to be. So we'll hear a bit more. We'll hear a bit more from you all about what your career search looked like after the course. But first, we'll continue on to Dami and telling us which program you were in and what your expectations were of that program in the city.
Yeah. Hi everyone. So I'm just completing the ADAPT program. And I think just like Amenze said, I wasn't actually looking for it, you know, but I was at a time where I was done with my diploma for graphic design, which is my core course. And then I was in between like trying to find a job. And then a friend told me about this program. And so I just thought, okay, it would be great to network. It would be great to learn skills because it's a digital and professional training program. And so you learn skills that are not necessarily taught in school. And so I just thought it would be great to, you know, get those opportunities and also maybe get a link to job opportunities as well, which, you know, was what happened, I think. So, yeah.
Great. That's good to hear. Raquel.
Hi, everyone. My name is Raquel. So just like Amenze, I just finished the Evolve You program. For me, I decided that I wanted to do the transition into tech last year. And I started to research about the opportunities. And I also talked to friends and they talked about Evolve You. And I've decided to research about it. I apply and I am so happy that I was able to get in. And yeah, it was an incredible experience. It was 6 months and yeah, so that's my story. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Raquel. And lastly, we have Michaela. And Michaela actually works at Platform Calgary. Her and I were just having a little coffee date yesterday. And I thought, oh, this is great perspective. So please join us. So Michaela, do you want to tell us about your student journey?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So yeah, my name is Michaela Nadoy, and I was part of the public relations program at Mount Royal University, and I actually graduated last November. And one of the main reasons as to why I chose PR is because of the curriculum, because it included 2 work terms, which I knew that would definitely give me an advantage when it came to finally applying for jobs after graduation. And another main factor was me wanting to stay in Calgary. And obviously, you know, Calgary and Alberta is very like oil and gas focused, but I had no plans on becoming an engineer or being part of the sector whatsoever. And so I felt that like PR or just communications in general would be a great fit for me because, you know, regardless of what industry that I want to go into or what I can come from, you know, every organization is going to need some sort of comms person. And I feel like I could fill in that gap. Yeah.
That's great. Thanks for sharing, everybody. We also have Jen Morrison in the crowd who is with EvolveU. So Jen, if you have any comments along the road, feel free to share. I see she shared her LinkedIn profile. So we'll work backwards through the panel. And guys, there's a lot of you on the panel. So if you feel like passing, feel free to pass, but we'd love to hear from you either way. So I want to hear a bit about what your career search was like after leaving post-secondary or your reskilling program, and landing work in the tech sector, or if maybe you've kind of on the fringes of the tech sector, whatever that looks like for you. So we'll start back with Michaela.
Well, obviously, I feel like many of us could relate that the pandemic has definitely been part of a setback. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I feel like in terms of just job hunting in general, whatever sector you're in, I feel like the pandemic has definitely had a help in, damaging the economy. But I also finished my schooling back in June, but I didn't graduate until November of last year. And so I was kind of in this weird in between state, not really graduated, but I was done school. And so when I was applying for jobs, I really couldn't explain what my status was to anybody. And so, I happened to come across Platform, which they were hiring interns, but it wasn't mandatory for me to be part of a program. And so, I just happened to stumble across it. And that's how I got into the tech and innovation sector, which I never in my life did I think that I would be part of. So yeah, it was all serendipity and it was all by luck.
Yeah. Michaela, and how much did you know about the tech sector before you landed a job in it?
I actually didn't even know that we had a tech and innovation sector here in Calgary. In my mind, it was all based in Palo Alto or the San Francisco area. And, I didn't know that there was this huge hub that was building, right beneath us. And especially since, as I said earlier, Alberta in general is very oil and gas focused. And so I guess, being a student in Alberta or just staying in Alberta, you kind of want to look for jobs within that sector, within that specific sector, sorry, just because based on what I heard is that if you really want to stay in Alberta, then, you should be looking for jobs within oil and gas. And so, although that was very discouraging, I managed to, one way or the other, I managed to stumble across Platform Calgary and realized, even during my interview, I was ashamed to say it was one of my downfalls was, even though I got hired, one of my downfalls was not knowing, it's like an ecosystem. Like, what are you talking, like, why are we talking about the environment? I was so confused of, what ecosystem meant, like, why are we talking about biology? And so, and so now that obviously I've learned more since being part of Platform, it was nice to learn that there's actually all these startups, coming from everywhere around the world trying to join our programs. And, I didn't realize it was a thing. So it was definitely enlightening and it was definitely eye-opening. And yeah, it was a good wake-up call to know that more than oil and gas exists in Alberta.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. And then you come to the rainforest and you're like, now why are they talking about the rainforest? We like to confuse people. Raquel, can you tell us a little bit about your career search?
Sure. So while I was still in the program, I started to reach out to recruiters, just applying through Indeed, LinkedIn, and also EvolveU offer like a list of companies. So I was able to research about them and see if there was a fit with my skills. And basically also one thing that really helped me, I wasn't sure if I was ready to start applying, but one thing that really helped me is just asking for mock interviews. If you have people that are in the tech industry, just ask them for tech interviews. That's how you will learn what to expect in tech interviews, because I was really nervous to go into like an interview and I wasn't sure what to expect, but that's something that really helped me. So yeah, it was pretty much applying and keeping a positive mind, and yeah, that's what I did. Yeah.
Awesome. Nicer, NICERR in Calgary here has just pivoted their startup to be a mock interview platform. So check that out
Nice.
if you're interested. I've totally lost track of my order, but we'll go to Amenze next. What was your career search like?
Mine was pretty similar to Raquel's. So during the course of the program, EvolveU would, our facilitators would from time to time like put in jobs that they saw or openings and all. But one thing that really helped me, I would say, is Jen and Al. Like we always had sessions and they will talk about core desired feelings, right? And knowing what you want before you go to look for a company, that you should actually apply to companies that you would love to work with. And I think that really helped me because they EvolveU does a great job with, job postings and all, but I would look through those jobs and some of them didn't really resonate with me, or I felt like, okay, I don't know if this is something that was interesting to me, and so I'll just pass. But the few ones that kind of clicked, I just made sure to apply. But I applied after researching the company. Like Raquel said, she was kind of my mock interview person because I would buzz her and be like, oh, this company, and and she was always like, she was part of my last project. So we'll just go over like ideas and stuff they could ask. So I would say like, just thinking about what you actually want from a company, because as much as they are looking for people, you are like a very great asset to them as well. So don't go looking like you need them, they also need you as well. And yeah, like what Raquel said, have a good network and yeah, do as much mock interviews as you can. And using network, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm seeing comments about remote work and that being, the future of work. It's interesting because out of all of the tech jobs that are posted right now, a lot of them are still stated Calgary based. They want Calgary based for that kind of half in and half out of the workplace. So it's an interesting transition, and we could go down a huge rabbit hole there, but we'll stick to this topic. Maybe that's a topic for later. Shannon, I want to shift over to you because you have a very unique story of your career search. And Shannon is actually the founder of a startup that was the winner of the People's Choice at Launch Party last year. I had to just praise your name, Shannon, because that's a really exciting transition for you. So how did that happen for you?
So during my MBA, I found my dream job via the University of Calgary Career Center, and I had this wonderful job at WestJet, which, as everyone knows, the aviation industry crashed during the pandemic. So as of March of last year, I found myself unemployed, and I started going into hackathons, and I made some connections, and I found my co-founder who is finishing up his PhD in neuroscience, and his focus is on gamification. And so right now we're working on gamifying mental health assessments. So I didn't intend to create a startup, but that's what we ended up doing, was gathering together all these other students and young professionals who are also struggling with getting entry-level experience, and they wanted to work on something that meant something to them and their families and their community to make a difference. So we're a team of 18 students and young professionals that are working towards creating these gamified mental health assessments, so that anyone can go in and take a look at how is their mental health doing over time, which is becoming even more key during the pandemic because a lot of us have been struggling. So that's what my career search looked like, is starting out at my dream internship and then total pivot into neurotech. Which I love. I love the combination of science and gamification and taking things out of the lab and making them usable for people in their homes, and
cool.
putting that talent to work.
Yeah, so cool. I really love how you took that opportunity of no work into becoming a founder. And so again, we have Colton from Startup Calgary in the room. If you want more information on what a startup might look like for yourself as a career path, connect with Colton. And then, Dami, I haven't forgotten you. What has your career search looked like?
Yeah, okay, so I'm just going to talk about one of the highs of my career search or my job search, which happened with the ADAPT program. Obviously, before I started the program, I had been trying to in, get into a job, done a couple of interviews. But then when we started the program, we were told about this wage subsidy thing, which basically was a way to help your employer by reducing how much, or taking the weight off for some of your wages, and this would be paid for them, which I thought was really interesting. And also we were told that even if you had applied for a job and you had interviewed for it, you could actually still let them know that you had this opportunity, which was weird to me at first, because I felt, well, would that seem to, like I'm being too desperate? But then I just felt like, I just saw that this was a way to add value to the company as well, or to let them know, like, I'm even more valuable to you now, and so I did that. I had interviewed for a job and I hadn't heard back from them. And so I just sent them this wage subsidy program information and all of that. And they were really interested. And, suffice it to say, I'm not working at that job, which I think is, really great that I had access to that program with the ADAPT school. Yeah.
Fantastic. And that's the purpose of ADAPT, as far as I am aware. So that's great. Okay, we'll head to, I'll maybe kind of combine the last two questions panel, which I had sent to you in advance, and you can choose one or the other. You can choose, do you have any advice for students who are looking to enter the tech scene or maybe become founders? Shannon might want to address. Or what could the tech community do for you? How can we give back to students and help them with their career search? So you can choose one or the other. I'll give you a little minute to decide which one you want to touch on. Looks like there's lots of conversation that I honestly can't keep up with in the chat, but it looks like some great talk around local work versus global work and all sorts of exciting conversation. Let's maybe go to, we'll start maybe back with you, Dami, if you're ready.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry,
I think, yeah, I would just talk about, like, I think how the tech community can help students that are looking for work, because I also faced that challenge of seeing more opportunities outside of Calgary and not knowing whether I was going to be able to stay in Calgary. But I think one thing that also helped me in the past was that I interned at a startup while I was in school for graphic design, which I think helped me to just really get into the workspace in Calgary and just see, like, how things were done. I feel like it's really important to have those opportunities for students, just because it's part of the learning. I mean, you're learning in school, and it just gives you an edge also as well when you leave school, because you already have that knowledge and you already have that work experience, I would say, in the field. So I think that that would be really key, just having those opportunities for students that are still in school to intern, maybe for a few months, even if not for just even see how well they can work with your team, probably like when they're done with school, and just see which one of their skills would be helpful to your company or to your startups. I think that would be really key.
Awesome, thanks for that. Maybe with that, we'll head over to Michaela. I know flexibility of platforms internship program is what ended up working for you. Is there any advice you'd like to give students or ask you'd like to make to the community?
Sorry, I forgot I was in mute for 1 second. I guess I'll touch on, what the tech community could do, more to help provide more meaningful work for students in particular, especially since, I focus more on the marketing communication side of things in the tech industry. And so I definitely suggest making a larger effort for the community to be more involved and be known, which I know is currently happening, is in the making. And because, and I mentioned earlier, we're so overshadowed by the oil and gas community that we end up living in our own little bubble and kind of separating ourselves from the rest of Calgary, the rest of Alberta. And, the ecosystem needs to specifically focus on, the post-secondary students, since, in order to create a relationship with them, especially since, they're the ones that are going to be needing jobs once they graduate. And, the tech and innovation community really needs to show that work is needed all across the board, and that they need employees beyond tech and innovation and entrepreneurships and startups. I feel like they need to create opportunities and careers for, just spitting out a couple of examples, just like for poli-sci students or for broadcasting students or business psychology students, and just so much more. just giving opportunities to different branches and different majors would be such a bonus within the industry and help us, and put us on the map.
Mhm. Yeah, really good points. I see Heiko's comments about companies wanting 5+ years. I've noticed that a lot and talked to quite a few startups about that. It seems the newer startups are willing to go with under the whatever year threshold they've indicated if they've got a really scrappy individual who can kind of do it all and take on the uncertainty of working for a startup. But then the bigger companies, I spoke to someone at Benevity last week who said they are now at the point where they're looking for really specialized talent. And so is there a large enough pool in our city? I'm no expert, but from what I'm hearing, not so much. So Raquel, we'll head over to you. Any advice for students, or what would you like from our community to support students?
Yeah, so I would like to talk about maybe some advice. So the first thing that I would say, just focus on connecting with people in the industry and make those connections meaningful. So try to learn and be curious about the story of the other person. That's something that really helps. Don't wait for the perfect time or to feel 100% ready. Just go for it. Yeah, if you know people in the industry, ask for mock interviews, as I said. Connect with recruiters and prepare your portfolio with different types of projects. Just like if you go to an interview, then you can present projects that you've been working on. So yeah, that would be my advice for students that want to start in the tech community.
Great idea, building your portfolio. That's great. Enze?
Yeah, I'm going to go off what Dami said about creating more internships for students that are just coming out, because that's what I noticed, that a lot of companies are looking for senior positions, which is understandable, but I feel like it also helps if having that internship program, because you find that you have more people that are more loyal to you, if that's the best word to use, because you have people that you put on board and kind of believe in their future and believe in where they're going to, and that just keeps them in the work. I saw someone in the comments talking about like US companies coming to like get people employed from Calgary or Canada and stuff, and I know it's because the pay is usually higher, but not everyone is looking for that, right? Some people are actually looking to grow and improve, or to boost their careers in Calgary here and in Canada in general. So I think like the internship program would actually be a great place to start for getting students. Yeah.
I saw I think it was Susanna wrote something about internship program for like people mid-career, and I've brought that up a few times, Susanna, to Tech West Collective, a few other people in the community, and maybe it's something we could all work on together. That's part of being part of this rainforest community, is taking on some initiatives like that ourselves and just moving them forward. And so lastly, Shannon, what are your parting words of wisdom?
From my experience, there are some student clubs at University of Calgary that if you do have some time, giving them a small project that they can work on is very helpful. We did that when I was at WestJet. We gave them a small coding project, and then at the end, just gave some t-shirts and did a thank you speech. It wasn't a huge time commitment on WestJet's part, but for the students, it was great to get that on the resume, that they did have that real experience. And then for the small startups, having a coffee chat with them, sharing your experience is hugely grateful. There's so many people in this room that I have had coffee chats with, and I'm extremely grateful for your help so far in our startup journey, as well as that entry level experience for students just coming out of the program. They do require more maybe supervision or more help to get through things, but it's crucial for us to develop that next generation of talent for the community in Calgary. And there's some great grant opportunities for that, including Canada Summer Jobs, Tech Nation, MindTax. So there's lots of different opportunities to help make it more affordable. And that's my feedback.
Yeah, that's great. Lots of resources there. Thanks, Shannon. Does anybody have any questions for our students who have joined us today?
And Bridget, I'm happy to provide some comments too. In that
Great.
Technology Alberta had mentioned the First Jobs program where we've engaged Alberta-wide entrepreneurs, and the entrepreneurs have been great. The students have young professionals, people under 29, which includes students and non-students. They've been committed to the program, and even though it's a small internship, everyone's absolutely right. It's become a valuable experience. And that have led to additional internships. And some people, in a past Rainforest event, we had MyTax showcase what they have. And so that's of great value. And I agree with everyone's point, just getting to meet that employer, people to understand that they fit in their organizations. Many people have gone on for full-time jobs or other internships. And of course, it's great on everyone's resume. So help keep our young talent here, call out to all the companies and to the young professionals. Volunteer too, consider that, because that is extending your networks. And I'm seeing that through the chats as well. And I don't know, Bridget, if this is going to be a record for how many chats we have going, but what wonderful continuous engagement. So thank you, everyone. And
Yeah.
I've included information. So many people have included their links, so everyone's ready to link up and really keep our talent here in Calgary, Edmonton, and Alberta. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Gail. That's awesome. Yeah, so much happening in the chat. It's crazy. Like, I know we have Christina here from Bow Valley College. They're often looking for projects for students to work on. State's always looking for software programs for students to work on. Ryan's put info there of how you can connect with U of C. There is an online platform for schools to connect to students, or companies to connect to students working on projects. I can't remember it off the top of my head. So when you're in breakout rooms, I'll try to find it. But again, I've lost track of what's happening in the chat. Is there anyone who would like to unmute and ask a question to the students, or dig a little deeper, find out a bit more before we head into breakouts?
Yeah, I got a question.
Oh, sorry. We've got V and Peter. So V, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to ask what social media students are using here now to connect with hiring managers. That's it.
That's it. Any of you students want to tackle that question? Is there a certain social media platform you're currently using to connect? I'm assuming LinkedIn is widely used.
Yep, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
And also Twitter.
Twitter, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the tech world hangs out. Lots of LinkedIn's happening in the chat.
So I'll just add one thing that might help for LinkedIn is when you connect with people, you automatically follow them unless you change your settings. 2 months ago, I was following 1,000 people and I didn't get to see what I wanted to see from the people I wanted to see it from. So now I've cut it. I've unfollowed people I'm down to 42 people I follow from 1,000. I see a lot more ads now, but now I get to see what I want to see. I got to flip through the ads. So
people are nodding. They know this trick. Awesome. Okay, good tip. Peter, your question?
Yeah, bit of a comment question. So my suggestion is, it's the typical figure out what you can do to help other people. Think about that as you go forward. That's such an important piece to this, because if it's just about you, then it's just about you and you'll miss something on the other side of the equation. The other piece is I hear us a lot talking about the oil and gas industry and how this is kind of like the abandonment zone, but I want to say that there's two big areas in the energy space, which is of course clean energy and ESG. So if you're not following those spaces, then you should be, because that is the career of the future. I mean, if we're talking about energy, the need for energy around the planet and how the planet's going to be able to support that, it includes everything from, oil and gas, but right through to how do we turn trees and plants and animals and stuff into new fuels or electricity. So that's a big space. And I think if you're not training yourself on that right now, you should be, because I think it'll be as important as knowing how to use a computer.
Yeah, really good point, Peter. And actually the panel we were supposed to have today, but will be next week, is CRIN, the Clean Resource Innovation Network. And so, Yeah, CRIN works with the rainforest analogy as well. And so next week we're going to explore, I actually reached out to CRIN because I was like, we're not hearing a lot about innovation in energy. So let's have that conversation. And then CRIN said, well, you know what? We're actually working with Jim Gibson on the rainforest. And anyway, long story there, but the two of them, Jim and Joy Romero from CRIN, will be joining us next week to talk about the synergies between CRIN and rainforest, and also just what's happening in clean energy. So that'll be exciting to explore. And then there is a question from Nolan.
Yeah, I was kind of just wondering how you support people who aren't necessarily looking to pivot directly into tech. Because I, like when I was on internship working for a big oil and gas company, I found a lot of engineers that work there actually taught themselves how to code at a fairly high level just to make their own jobs easier. Like they were production engineers or exploitation engineers or facilities engineers, but they were all like really good at automating their job. Like that was a big part of it because they're smart people. So I'm kind of wondering how you can help engineers use that experience, maybe if they do need to pivot out at some point, or if they just want to make their own current job more tech focused rather than abandoning the career they do have, like how they can just improve their current standing with those same attitudes and skills.
Does anyone want to tackle that one?
I guess, yeah, I can talk about it. I think for me, Udemy, it's great. I mean, you can take courses related to specific things that you want to learn, and then you can try it out while you're working. And then you can automate processes that are happening with your current job. So that's something that you can try it out and see if that works for you.
Great, thanks. Shannon, do you have anything to add to that?
I love that comment about the engineers who are learning how to code. I think the engineers are realizing that there's a shakeup coming in their work that they're doing, and quite a few of my engineering friends are self-teaching themselves how to code. There's a community called Near Alberta Tech, and they offer $20 coding classes, and it's focused on the intersection between neuroscience and programming, and that's, if you just want to play around a little bit, that's a good introduction.
Cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. Okay, one more question from Eva, and then we'll head into a breakout room.
Hi, thanks, Bridget. I just wanted to answer Nolan's question as well. I think that for all of our youth who are transitioning or even trying to re-enter into a new career, reskilling is, and if you reskilling, I'm not going to say upskilling, reskilling is really important, but also remember that a lot of the companies are also transitioning at the same time. And so both the reskilling and from the applicant's point of view, and also from the employer's point of view, they're both facing the same challenge. So my question out there to anybody in post-secondary is micro-credentials. It's very, very important we get it out there, and don't stay insular to your own institution. Share those courses, make sure it goes broad across Alberta, because that's the only way we're going to help our next gen.
Totally, micro-skilling is the way of the future. Okay, so I'll maybe ask just before we head into the breakout rooms if Ryan or Jen or those working at post-secondary, if you want to pipe in with any additional comments before we move into the breakouts, give you that opportunity.
I would just say focus on skill awareness as a student and also as employers. I think we put a lot of the pressure on students to be able to pitch their skills to employers. And I think maybe we can alleviate some of that pressure by kind of being curious ourselves when we're interviewing these students that, hey, if they have experience doing this research or this very technical thing, maybe be a little bit more curious, dig a little bit more deeper into what that skill actually is, so you can help alleviate some of that burden on students to really understand how they present that skill to the business community.
Yeah, that's a really supportive way to look at it. Thanks, Ryan. Any last comments before we head out?
One quick one. Just so not just engineers, but architects, and a lot of these professional services are all kind of going through an evolution here and having to, even, the economists are having to figure out how to code and do that sort of stuff. So, I mean, everybody's lives are in this intersection point. So I think this constant learning piece has got to be clearly the way to go. So take your own courses, put those experiences right on your resume, because that's critical.
Totally. Yeah, it's said to be the biggest skill of the future is the ability to learn. So awesome. We will head into one breakout room. We have time for a good 7-8 minute breakout room, and then we'll come back for community announcements and wrap up. So you get those announcements ready, and I will create the rooms now. I am going to do a couple of rainforesty announcements, and then if anybody else wants to raise their hand, please do. We, as previously mentioned, have Greg Horwitz, the co-author of the Rainforest book, coming for a fireside chat with us on March 26th. My dates are so messed up. Between 12 and 1, Amber will put the link for the registration there. And then we have podcast training tomorrow from 4 to 5. If you've ever thought of being a host of the podcast, or if you're just kind of curious and thinking about it, come and check out how it's done and how easily it is done and how it can help you grow your network. That'll be 4 o'clock, and you can register for that one on Eventbrite. The Greg Horowitz talk is not on Eventbrite. It is on the link Amber will share. Does anybody else have announcements they want to share?
Yeah,
I can.
Oh, who do we have there? Sorry, my screen's totally frozen.
Hello.
V, go ahead. Do you have an announcement?
Yeah, I just put a link to a post in the chat. A gentleman by the name of Tom McCaffrey. He's looking for anything Cleantech. So anyone who's a regular part of the group, he wants to know about everything that everyone is doing. And I know Jade put a Cleantech summit that's going on tomorrow in the chat as well. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Jade?
Yeah, I would just like to announce our the Startup TNT Cleantech Summit is tomorrow, and we will be announcing the final 5 will be pitching, and the announcement will be around 6 o'clock. So it starts at 3. We have a lot of great companies that'll be sharing their stories. So it's in the chat, the Eventbrite link, and hopefully we'll see everyone there.
Awesome. Any other announcements? Peter?
Just want to say thank you to everybody, because we raised $16,000 for the Children's Hospital Hospice because you guys were buying tickets for and good luck. We're doing the draw on Saturday. So somebody's going to get a $5,000 giant bicycle certificate, and then you guys can come mountain bike riding with me.
Nice. Something I keep forgetting to also announce is that Ask Betty, which is from Virtual Gurus, they are looking for beta testers for the Ask Betty platform, which is ran through Slack, and you have like a personal virtual assistant that can do things for you. And so you get 4 free credits, and you can try out the system and then give your feedback. And Jen Delconte, who is in our Slack channel, is the person to contact. I don't have a link there, but if you look for her name in our Slack channel, and if you're wondering what is your Slack channel, once you sign the Rainforest contract, you gain access to the Rainforest Slack channel, which has thousands of members and people wanting to give back and help each other out in the community. And if you have already signed it, but somehow didn't get the invitation, then just contact myself or Amber Rowden here on the call, and we'll help you get into the Slack. And we are finishing a minute early, which never happens. We always leave the room open. So if you'd like to stick around, get to know more people, please do. Have a great week, all. Thank you to our students. My gosh, I forgot. Thank you to everyone who joined us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming and taking time.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
See ya.